All right. Welcome to this month's webinar. We are going to talk about why your PPC isn't working and how to fix it. There's a lot of, you've probably been burned before trying it and it didn't work. It is not easy in this industry. So we're going to cover why that is and some ways to fix it today because it can be a good lead source. You just got to know what you're doing. Um, but a lot of if you're on here, you're probably trying to grow and scale this year. And if you get to a certain point, each of the lead channels, not all of them, you can kind of turn the dial, as I like to say, to scale. So that's where pay-per-click can be beneficial. And you can get it up and running fairly quickly. I mean, yes, you got to go through learning phases, optimization phases, but it's one of the only lead channels. Well, one of there's only a couple, but is one of the lead channels to where I've seen people scale up to 20, 30 grand a month. And again, these are 10 million a year plus restoration companies, right? Like if you're on the smaller end, obviously you're not going to spend that. You wouldn't even be able to handle the lead flow from it. But this is a great lead source because you can scale it. That's the benefit of paid advertising. So some of you might have been on some of my webinars. I mean, I've been doing these for years now at this point. And this is so I can add value for you guys. But I used to work in the construction industry before I started doing this. So that's one reason I think it's been beneficial on us being able to figure this stuff out is because I've been on your side and I know this side that is beneficial. It's not me guessing what restoration is. This is what we do all day, every day for almost 10 years now. Um, so we're in the game with you guys. And then I'm the host of, for any of you guys that like podcasts, the Restoration Success Show. Sometimes I do solo episodes just about lessons learned, what's working now. Then I also bring on industry experts to, talk about different facets of growing and scaling a restoration company. Um, and there's a lot of people that don't think this stuff works. And I mean, I'm sure most of you have been burned before. Unfortunately, I hate it. That's why, unfortunately, marketing companies like us have a bad rap because most over promise and under deliver. And I do kind of take pride on trying to do the opposite. And we're not perfect, but just to show you guys, because a lot of people just think this stuff does not work, and it blows my mind. And again, is it easy? No, it's not. But I just we celebrate wins and jobs every now and then that some of our clients get. We're all across the U.S., Canada, but I just pulled some from our wins channel. And look, these are from pay per click. So if you don't do it, if you don't have the fishing pole in the water, as I like to call them, or the lead generation channel, you're not going to get the opportunity. And that's a lot of this I try to talk about mindset because all of our guys doing 5 million plus a year, they kind of get it. They're like, no, I know you got to pay to play. This is business. Let's roll. But usually there's a learning curve for everybody sub 5 million. But look, $400,000 to $500,000 asbestos job, not 5,000, 500. Here's a $25,000 water. Here's a huge water loss job, PPC, $200,000 fire, another $200,000 fire. Um, and $100,000 job, $40,000 job, 3-story water loss. So these are pulled from our partners and clients all across the country. And yes, well, my market's different, Jamie. This works in small, medium, and large. We're in all of them. At this point, I've almost seen almost every situation and scenario. But we're different is because, you know, and right now I'm actually doing the consultations too. So if anybody wants, to book a call with us, you would get me only for the next few weeks, but I have a few gaps in my schedule right now, so I am doing it. and I customize it for your situation because there are nuances to it depending on how big your company is, how much you can handle, where you are in the country or where you are in Canada. And those are the adjustments we make. And again, I'm not saying you're going to get jobs this big or make this much revenue, but we pull this from text messages we get all the time. So it works. And again, is it easy? No, it's not. But you're not going to get these jobs if you don't have the fishing pole in the water, right? You can't catch the fish if the pole's not in the water. That's what I need people to understand. So throughout the year, I'm going to be doing different topics, covering different things, mainly around marketing and sales topics, getting the phone to ring more, right? At the end of the day, we're trying to get the phone to ring with opportunities and generate revenue, right? All this technical stuff that we have to do, y'all don't need to worry about that. That's our job. We're just trying to get your phone ringing, trying to help you get good opportunities so you can grow the company. And that's what matters. So today we're going to dive deeper into one of the paid acquisition channels, pay per click, right? Which is one of the trickier ones, but it works. And so before we dive in and get into the details, I did want to give you guys a few updates, man, because we've been working on some slick stuff. For any of you that have 1-star, 2-star, clients that left you a 1-star and it wasn't your fault, it was probably the insurance company's fault, right? Competitors, spammers, I've seen it all. Disgruntled employees leave you a 1-star review. There's a couple caveats to it, and that's why you just book a call with me and I'll review it. But we're all dangerously good at Google, but I've brought on some, they're not lawyers technically, but we are next level Google policy specialists. So now it's a money back guarantee that we get the review removed. And if we can't, we give you the money back. And why this is important, some people are like, oh, this isn't important. What do you do when you go to Amazon? You look at the top search results, you look at reviews, you purchase product. What do you think people do when they go to look for home service companies? They go to Google, they look at reviews, they make a phone call. And we generate thousands of jobs a year. And I did an audit in 2025 to check this. This is based on data, not me just making this up on the fly. Like thousands of jobs. Because if I think about it, if you saw this, would you call this company? Absolutely not. And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, so I whited out some stuff. But nobody's calling a 2.9, period. So I will put real quick in the chat, if any of you if you just want to book a meeting with us to talk about, anything, scaling, marketing, online marketing related or reviews, I'll put this in the chat because some of y'all might have to run before I finish. Go ahead and schedule a call. And remember, as of now, only for the next few weeks, because actually, I'm going to be out of town and I'm going to have somebody on the team probably take this back over from me, but you will get to talk to me. And so that way I can look at your particular situation. And I'll advise you based on how many reviews you have, where you're currently sitting, on what the plan is. And again, I have experience in this. I'm not going to I'll give you my best guess. So that's a new service we've rolled out. People are loving it. And again, ultimately, you want to get your rating up so you get more revenue. Remember, everything we do is connected to revenue. And then also, if you want, probably within the next month, a lot of people we hear like, Jamie, we're tired of having 14 different softwares and like these other companies don't understand restoration. They suck, blah, blah, blah. All of our clients get Lead Cottage, our lead management system. It has automations. You can email, call, text, connect your social media, build workflows, automations, schedule appointments, send contracts out, send invoices out. Some of our clients end up using it as their full-blown CRM. Well, we're integrating voice AI answering service into it and conversation AI. So just think because again, if you're on here, you get busy. If you get an email lead on mold removal in the attic, do you respond within 60 seconds? I'd say there's a very good chance you don't. And I can't remember the exact number, but there's like it's like a 4 or 5x in conversion rate if you call or message the lead back within 60 seconds. What if you had an AI agent trained on your specific company to do that for you? We're working on that. And like I said, it's not ready yet. But I will put a different link in the chat if you want to get on our waiting list. Fill out that form and then I'll reach out to you when it's ready. Like I said, it could be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. We're still doing some testing and stuff. Um, so I did want to bring that up too, in case anybody can't stay to the end. But there's a couple cool things we're working on that our clients will have access to. So let's get into it. Let's get into the while we're here today. Let's talk about pay per click and what to do about it. So we're going to talk about, the change, some of the changes I've seen as of late, how to get actual high quality leads coming in. And so I'm going to try to, be respectful of your time today and probably try to wrap up another later than 3 o'clock if I can. And if I don't talk too much or go on too many rants, I'll do a Q&A at the end and maybe answer some of y'all's questions for you, if you can. So the reality is, most of you, unfortunately, have probably tried this and it didn't work. So you're scared to do it again, right? Just blowing money, or, and I'll give you a tip right now, if y'all want to write this down. What I see is, unfortunately, 95% of these people out here don't actually know restoration. And like, just to give you an example, if you guys are like, hey, Jamie, I want to run PPC, but I'm smaller. I only want to spend 2 grand a month. I'd be like, hey, I like you. Don't take this personally, but I ethically will not run that for you because it will not work in this industry. I mean, and again, I don't know everything, but I've managed millions in this industry, and I've learned a thing or two. Because you spread the budget too thin, the daily budget's too low, it chokes it out, nothing happens. I've seen it over, and a lot of marketing companies, I'm telling you, they'll tell you what you want to hear to let you come on board as a client. Where I'm the opposite. I'm a straight shooter. That's the right thing to do. Um, so be extremely wary of your budget based on your market and competition. If there's one takeaway from today, what I just said is going to help you out, because I literally see this all day, every day. Like, this isn't one, like, people like, it didn't work. I'm like, what was your budget? Well, my current company said 2 grand a month. I'm like, dude, you're in Seattle. That ain't gonna fly. I'm telling you right now, that ain't gonna work. And they're like, well, they didn't say that. I'm like, well, I know, it's unfortunate. That's why we have sometimes marketing companies have a bad rap. Um, but again, there's a lot of frustration too, because you might get 4 calls in a week and then nothing for weeks, right? And one thing we're shooting for is consistent lead flow. That is one of the biggest problems in this industry. It's a great industry. You can make a fortune in it. But you want predictability. And that's where adding multiple fishing poles or multiple lead channels is what all of our people doing 5 million plus, 15 million. I mean, all over, they're putting multiple channels. They did not get there on one channel. That's a mixture of them, right? So usually what we've seen is not PPC in and of itself. It's a system problem and a structure problem, right? And just not knowing how it actually works in this industry, right? So, the reality of it, if we're going to do a quick pulse check here, is, let's go through it, because it's changed, and that's what makes our job hard, to be honest, is it is ever evolving. As soon as we figure something out, Google's going to roll out some update, and we're like, back to the drawing board. But that's why you hire people like us, because it's hard to scale a company and stay on top of this stuff, because it's changing by the day, right? And there is more and more competition, right? This is a great industry. There's more and more people getting into it. And so, that drives up the cost. That's simple economics, right? And the algorithms, are trickier these days, which we'll talk more about. And remember, water, fire, mold is extremely profitable. That also drives up the amount of people bidding on the keywords, therefore driving up the cost. That's why you have to know what you're doing. And yeah, you want to minimize the wasted ad spend because you don't want to just be throwing your money away, right? And I mean, these days it's not just people in your market. I mean, there's these franchises. Some of you guys might be part of a franchise. The paper lead providers, they're running their own ads. 33 mile service direct and Quarterly. I mean, if you guys have heard of them, I mean, and there's independent national players. I mean, we even work with some people that have scaled that are in the process of scaling out nationally, and I can tell you right now they're spending. You don't scale, and again, because you got to put your wallet where your mouth is when it comes to growing the stuff. They're not afraid to spend, and actually, I have a slide here shortly. I'll show you why. Because if you get the numbers, you shouldn't even have a budget if you get the math to work, right? And you got to know what you're doing. I'm not going to say who it is, but you know, I'm uh I'm in talks with I'll just say a franchise. Um, and some of these people are spending 2 million a month. 2 million a month. Not like this is a big boy game, big girl game, as I like to say, right? And again, I'm not saying you can't compete with them, but you got to know what you're doing. Um, So, Google, at the end of the day, now we have local service ads, which, I'll probably do another. I think towards the end of last year, I did a webinar on it. I'll probably do another one, at some point this year because it's a great fishing pole lead source. That's Google's pay per call platform, and you can dispute kind of. But, Google at the end of the day, if you don't put the constraints and guardrails around your paid channels and marketing, they will spend your money and not think twice about it. And so that's where you have to know what you're doing because I can tell you right now, Google will recommend things and they're like, oh yeah, this is working. Um, and I actually ignore Google's calls now too because it's like, oh, and I'm like, have you ever run this in restoration? No, well, and I'm like, exactly, that does not work in this industry. So that's where you got to be careful. So um just make sure you're working with somebody that knows what they're doing and just keep the guardrails in place, right? So you want to, do it right or don't do it at all. That's why like we turn people away all the time. If they don't have the budget, then I don't want to waste their money, right? We treat it as if it's our own. So let's get into some of the nitty gritty. Um, so a few of the mistakes we see. And remember, I can do a Q&A at the end too if you guys have any more technical questions about some of this. Um, but when you're setting it up, the targeting's way too broad and you're going to waste money. And remember, even if you look at Google's recommended optimization, if in Google Ads, if any of you are trying to do this on your own, be careful. They're going to recommend broad match. Do not do it, right? And there are certain scenarios. Most of y'all, you don't start out this way. And again, there's always caveats to this stuff, but usually you don't want to do broad because I'm sure most of you on here don't want to pay for water damage iPhone click, right? Or, water damage in a car. Broad will bring in junk. That's why you want to stick to phrase and exact match. Typically, because now what I'm seeing is exact match, they're treating it like phrase, and phrase is almost like broad match, unfortunately. But that's where negative keywords come in um, to help tell Google, I don't want to see this word ever again, right? So if you're doing whoever you're working with, if you're doing it yourself, you have to review the search terms and add negative keywords and never stop doing it. Okay. So that's kind of some of the things on the targeting. And like I said, we can go a little bit more granular here in a little bit. You had to have conversion tracking in place and set up so you can actually see what's happening. Otherwise, you're flying blind, right? That's like running your business and just never looking at your balance sheet or P&L. You're just like, well, I don't know. I mean, we're making money sometimes. I don't know what my expenses are. We're just going, right? I'm sure none of you on here would do that. You don't want to do that when it comes to pay per click either. And then landing pages, I mean, these are tricky too, because just because you think it looks good does not mean it necessarily converts best. That's why all of this, especially pay per click, it needs to be based on data, not feelings. And I've even learned this. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, this is going to increase the conversion rate, no doubt in my mind. And it doesn't. It'll blow your mind. But again, that's why we track it, we look at the data, we make optimizations and adjustments accordingly, right? And just a few of the higher level things. Most traffic is mobile these days. You want to have a fast loading landing page. You want to have trust badges, social proof, credibility on your landing page. Testimonials, I should have added that on here, but that's more of the social proof. Good reviews, video testimonials. You got to have a call to action, tell people what to do. Call now for a free estimate. And then any personalization, team photos, videos, anything like that, you want to add those to the page as well. And then make sure it's mobile friendly. Okay. That's like I said, more, it varies by the market, but there's more mobile traffic than desktop traffic, obviously. And you want to make sure leads are being worked, phones are being answered, um, and you close these jobs at the business or the home, not over the phone. I've never, well, I don't say never, but I don't know if I've ever listened, and I've listened to thousands of calls. Normally people say pricing over the phone. The person's like, wait, what? It costs 5 grand? I thought this was a $500 problem. That most of these people have never dealt with the claim. They've never dealt with the water, fire, or mold issue, and they don't understand how much it costs to actually do it right. But that's why you walk them through the process in person and close the deal, right? I mean, that's I can do a whole webinar on that, but just make sure you're answering the phone quickly. And see, that's where our voice AI service is going to come into play too. I mean, we can set it up to like ring to you 3 times, and if you don't get to it, the voice AI agent picks it up. It's the fallback. Or it can pick up on the first ring. Remember, speed to lead is the name of the game. So those are some of the cool things we're gonna have down the road to help people out. And again, if you want to keep answering the phone, keep doing it. But a lot of our guys are like, man, we're tired of these 1 a.m. flood calls. I mean, it's a love hate, right? You love them because those are normally nice big jobs. Um, but that's why we're going to leverage the voice AI to help with that. And then you want to have follow-up systems in place because here's the thing, an emergency water job, y'all better be closing those. That's not even sales in my mind. Like you just get there, you do the work, it's over. But when it comes to asbestos, mold, fire, whether y'all do kitchen remodeling, carpet cleaning, anything that's non-emergency based in the home service industry, you want to have automations working these leads because some of our guys are like, yeah, they haven't called me back yet. And I'm like, dude, this is mold removal. You think they're thinking about like, is you don't wait on them to call you back, you call them back. How bad do you want it? So make sure you have follow. And again, this is applicable to any of the fishing poles or lead generation channels you're doing. It's funny. One of our guys in Florida, we were catching up with him, and it was like I can't remember. But it was like a whole house flood. Then she had mold. I mean, it was a disaster. He knew it was a monster job. He drove back out there and closed it because she wasn't answering the phone. And again, most people won't do that. But again, it was a 6-figure job. So it's kind of how bad do you want it. And again, I'm not telling you to drive out to every single job, but y'all know which ones you should follow up and work. But to make, for the best use of your ad spend, having these systems in place will help you drive the ROI up, right? Um, so a couple more things too, and why this can be tricky and what to do about it is usually it's not just one issue. Sometimes it can be, but this is hard for us. Is It's a never ending like balance. This is why we're constantly having to optimize and look at everything because as soon as you get something dialed in, this metric might start dropping, and then boom, our focus shifts there. It's a never evolving optimization game. And like I said before, you want to have a system in place, um, or working with somebody that's going to do that for you. It's not just a every now and then thing, it's the all the time thing, right? Um, so I'll take a quick, pause real fast. I mean, does anybody have any questions that, about anything I've covered so far? I mean, I know I've kept this a little bit higher level. We can get a little bit more granular here in a little bit. But put in the chat if you have a question or anything specific about what we've covered so far. And if you don't, that's fine too. But all right, just put your questions in the chat as we go if you have them, and then we will go from there. So, a couple things we got to look at: visibility, conversion, capture, and follow up, right? So, visibility, you want to have the campaign structured. You want separate ad groups for the separate services you do. Don't just do one campaign, one ad group. And again, we've tested this because some people will say, "Oh, no, that just let the algorithm do the thing." We haven't found where Google's algorithm produces high buyer intent, high emergency based leads and jobs yet on its own. Like, yes, you can look at its recommendations, but you do not let it just do its thing because at the end of the day, Google likes to make money. And we've seen when we've loosened things up, it's like, dude, it's wasting money. So you want to keep, your campaigns, ad groups, and keywords broken down. Remember, I already covered it. I would especially start phrase and exact match. Um, and then, emergency focused, especially if you want more MIT jobs. But you obviously want all of this broken down to your specific company, services, and location, right? So keep that in mind, and then keep the budget in mind as well, and make sure you have enough daily budget to get impressions, to get clicks, to get calls. Do not choke it out with a little dinky budget. I'm telling you right now, that's one of the biggest problems. And then obviously you want ad copy to match the services. And I mean, I see people still make this mistake. You don't want to send a water damage ad and then send it to a mold damage landing page or mold removal landing page, right? You want it all congruent from the ad group, the ad, and the keywords. It needs to be congruent. That drives up your quality score. That increases your visibility. And therefore, that increases your conversion rate, right? So you remember, and this is multiple facets too. Remember, we got fast landing pages. We got, on the landing pages, you want trust, credibility, personalization, calls to action, to drive the click to call ratio, right? And that's what the conversion rate is. And if you're working with a marketing company, they're going to be looking at that, or they should be looking at that to try to, I mean, the name of the game is as many leads as possible based on the budget, um, highest conversion rate possible while driving down the cost per lead as much as possible. Now, trust me, that's easier said than done. That's why people hire us I mean, that's a constant, never ending battle in optimization, strategy that needs to be handled. But, just remember, you want to make sure you're getting the traffic and the visibility. You want to make sure it's converting into leads and phone calls. That way you can track your cost per lead, cost per conversion, right? Which would equate to, some of y'all might work with Inquirely, 33 Mile Service Direct, depending on your market, it might be 550 a lead. I mean, we got a client, his market, it's 1250 a lead. Some of these markets I'm hearing is up to 1500 for a lead. So that's what that cost per conversion would mean. So if you're running Google ads and you're getting a $500 cost per lead in your market, and 33 miles charging you 1500 for the same type of lead, would you not increase your budget for the PPC? You're paying 1500. Why would you not pay 500? And it can get to that in some of these more competitive markets. But that's why I like to bring that up, because some people don't think about that. Like, oh man, you're right. because I'm only getting a handful of leads from 33 Mile. I ain't adding another million, 2 million top line with 4 leads a month from them. I need more lead sources. And I'm like, yes, you do. That's where pay per click, SEO, GBP, LSA. Um, now we got the LLMs, right? The AI stuff. I mean, there's a lot of different, but you want to be smart about it. You don't want to just throw a pole in the water if there's not fish there, right? So that's why a lot of our focus is still on the first page of Google because we know that it's still producing big jobs and high quality buyer intent leads, right? And remember, once you get the conversions, to know what's happening, you want to have conversion tracking, call tracking, form tracking, chat widget tracking. And that's where we have lead cottage, so everything funnels into one place for our clients and partners. Even if you don't have that, just make sure all this stuff is going somewhere. Um, so you can follow up if needed with the leads, and you can actually track everything to get an accurate cost per conversion on what you're doing, right? Because I see this sometimes. Like I was meeting with the guy the other day, and he's like, "Man, I don't know if it's working," and he's like, "Look at this report for 2025. I got like 1,000 calls." Um, and I looked at it, and I was like, "Man, this is repeat customer and spam and insurance companies and everything. This ain't leads. This is just all the calls you got." And he was like, dang, you're right. They never brought that up. And I'm like, I know. It's unfortunate. And I'll show you some stuff we do here in a little bit. Because that's messed up in my mind. You're not paying for spam calls. You're not paying for an insurance company to call you again. That should not go into your cost per lead or your leads generated column. And a lot of marketing companies just throw that in there. So make sure you're tracking it properly. And I'll show y'all something in a little bit. Like I said, I touched on this a little bit earlier. Have follow-up systems in place. Some of y'all might have a CRM job management system that does it. Cool, roll with it, and keep it going. We have lead cottage that all of our clients get. A lot of this, or a lot of the automations and follow-ups and CRM type stuff is built into lead cottage, and that's the software we're building our voice AI system into as well. Um, and then some of y'all might be like, well, Jamie, what is an automation? So I'll give you an example. Remember, we don't want you missing any phone calls. In reality, once your phone starts really rolling, unfortunately, you might miss one. So this is an example of one of our guys. He happened to miss it, but we have missed call text back. So as soon as they missed it, it texted the lady, and then she texted back immediately. I already have a claim with insurance open. That is what speed to lead is, and that's why it matters. He would have had no idea this even like came through. It'd be like, just a missed call. Nobody would have called her back for hours, and she'd be like, "Oh, I've already called ABC Restoration. They're already out here doing the job. Sorry, you lost it." So I know this isn't, technically tied to PPC, but you want this in place for all of your lead generation channels, especially if you're spending money on paid marketing like pay per click or local service ads. You want to be working the leads and following up with them and the missed calls and all that. Um, so, a lot of that can, is, what attributes to predictable lead flow, not guessing, not waiting on hurricane season or winter storms in the winter. Like you want to have predictable systems built. Um, and as far as tracking goes, you guys could actually do this yourself today as soon as we get off the webinar. So this is where last year we took it a level deeper, and we're still manually doing this because we want to make sure we maintain the quality and standards for our partners. But I just pulled this out because we have tracking in lead cottage, but we found it's easier. We listen to every single phone call for our clients, and then we put what it was about. We mark, hey, was it a good lead or was it spam? And then we even track, was it a booked appointment or not? We haven't heard of one marketing company that goes this granular yet on this. Every single call that we're working on, because you know what you can do with this? And sometimes we'll send this to our clients. They can put the estimate amount, the closed amount, because then you can start seeing average job amount and closing rate. So this way we can track, marketing and sales goes hand in hand, right? We can track everything from lead quality to the booking rate, from good leads to booked, and then book to closed. Now, the book to close, that's where we need your feedback and you'd have to put the job amount. We don't know like if it was closed but we started doing this and honestly, some people, they're like, dude, honestly, I'm just going to work with y'all because they're like, my time is way too valuable to be trying to do all this myself. Like I don't have hours and hours to go through all these calls. So we do this. I mean, I just pulled this quickly from a PPC, but we do this for every single fishing pole. But you really want to make sure you do this for pay per click because remember, you're spending money, sometimes big money. But when you start seeing all this, leads like this and booked, like if you ain't making money from this, there's other issues. But people love working with us because we bring that up. If we saw all these whatever 10 leads and there was two booked, we're gonna flag that and be like, hey, something's going on here. And this happened the other day. We were like, dude, why are y'all not booking any of these good leads? Well, the owner talked to his office staff. I mean, they got so busy, they were kicking people two weeks out. Um, and then we're like, dude, no wonder nobody's waiting 2 weeks for you to come drought their house. And I mean, I guess the office staff didn't think about it. And he had a meeting with them. He's like, dude, y'all squeeze it in the schedule. If it's one of these leads and jobs, you better be finding room on the schedule for it. So those are things that we help our clients pick up on because why? We want you to make money. This is not for fun, right? We're trying to help you grow and scale your business. So, I mean, you guys could technically, I mean, this is a Google sheet. You can build this yourself, track it yourself, listen to the calls. Um, but again, people don't have the time to do this and run and scale a company. I can tell you, I've seen nobody doing 5 million or plus. They're like, that's why they bring us on board, right? They're like, dude, it's a waste of my time. Like it's more based on what y'all charge. Like this is a no brainer for y'all to do it for us. But you can do this yourself if you want. So I just want to bring that up. But this is the data that would be helpful for you guys. So just remember, it's not instant. This is not a 2-day thing. There's a learning phase with Google. It can take, I mean, 2 to 4 weeks to kind of get it like up and running and the data to coming through before it really gets rolling. Um, but I mean, welcome to business. There's no get rich quick, and that it's just not out there. So if you're not willing to invest the time and money to grow and scale a company, I mean, you probably should think twice about what you're even doing, right? Maybe go ahead and try to sell the thing. Because again, I haven't seen anybody doing over 5 million a year that hasn't invested into online marketing. Um, and again, for some of y'all think this stuff is not relevant. One of our clients just sold to a private equity firm, and guess what they asked to look at before they sold? Hey, let me see some of your lead generation channels and your online stats. So when I tell people this stuff is assets, and again, these private equity, these guys are not idiots. I can promise you that. Like I met with them, like these guys are doing 50 million dollar deals and stuff. So you think they're idiots? Like, and they look at this and they're like, hey, we're not going to buy you if you don't have consistent lead flow in multiple lead generation channels. Why? It's more risk for them. Y'all want to sell your company one day and get a big multiple? You better have multiple marketing channels and lead generation channels. That lowers the risk for them. You might get a higher multiple, and you'll make more money. So, I mean, I should do a whole other webinar on that. Like, since we've had a few guys exit, but this stuff is that's what still blows my mind. People are like, oh, I'm not doing it. I'm like, all right, fine. I can tell you the big boys are doing it. So, get your conversion tracking in place, listen to the calls, because the calls will actually give you better data on high buyer intent actually, because you can look at the keywords, look at the search terms, but listening to the call tells the true story on what's happening. And again, we like listening to the calls too, because we want to make sure good leads are getting booked to appointments. And then obviously you want to add negative keywords along the way consistently. This is not a one-time thing. And then this is from a local service ad account. But again, the longer I do this, the more I have to I'm like, man, it's more of a mental problem than even it ain't I mean, restoration droughts. I mean, it's not, yeah, it's a little difficult. You have to get certified, but being good at that doesn't grow your company, right? So then this is why I like to show this. Because again, when I worked in construction, nobody ever sat me down and taught me this. But now that I learned this, I'm like, oh God, I wish I would have learned this when I was 16 years old. But because, and again, some of y'all might get, I'm not trying to scare anybody by this, but remember, we work with some decent sized companies, and this guy didn't even want to do, this is from local service ads. And again, some of y'all markets, this won't even be feasible. We've been working with this guy for years, and he's in a very competitive market, very big market. But now that we got him positioned right, he's rolling. So he spent 215 grand. Now this is just one fishing pole. We've helped him go to multiple states, multiple offices. He's doing fishing poles for all of them. Like I said, this guy's he's going. Um, but this is the math I need y'all to get. That he did not understand at first. I'm like, fine, don't do it. And then eventually he's like, wait a minute. And I'm like, yes, that's the point I was trying to make. Some of y'all in his market, 33 mile service direct, they're charging over $800 a lead. So I was like, just tell me why you won't spend $216 on the same quality lead that you're already paying 800. Well, I've heard it's bad quality, whatever. And I'm like, we listen to the calls and dispute them to Google for you. And like, yes, it's not perfect. Google's not perfect. You might have to pay for a junk lead, but I'm like, dude, welcome to the game. Like, this is none of this is perfect. It's not easy. Some of y'all might work with TPAs and you're like used to that. Well, yeah, I'm like, well, they're giving you the job, but what are you giving up to them? Percentage of revenue. Like none of these are perfect. It's give and take, pros and cons. Um, but I was like, this is why I was like, Corey, it's 75% cheaper for this than what you're already paying. Explain to me why you won't scale that to the moon. And eventually he's like, oh man, I think I get it. He goes, you have no budget, go. This is why we spent 215,000 through one acquisition channel. And again, I don't want to scare y'all. Some of y'all, this is a very big company in a very big market. They have a very big team. So, but once he understood the math, he's like, oh, okay, I think I understand now. So that's why I put this in here. I want to keep putting it in here because I need people to understand why marketing can be powerful. Is it easy to get to this point? No, it's not. But again, it's all right, just don't do it then. And you'll slowly maybe grow, get stuck where you're at, or maybe even decline. Because we all know the ebbs and flows of calls are going to vary. Um, so I mean, obviously, and I'll answer some questions here in a minute. Yeah, I see your question over here, Matthew, too. I'll get to that in a second. Um, but if you do, obviously go do this yourself. Like if you want, like more power to you. Like I'm not here to try to sell you, but if you guys do want to book a meeting with me to talk about your specific market, you can do that because this is the stuff we do. And I did want to show you, and again, this stuff, I mean, it just works. And again, it's not easy. You just got to know what you're doing, right? And any of you podcast listeners, subscribe to the Restoration Success Show. We're on, we throw these up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all of them. There's like 7 or 8. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we should be on there. But that's, when I cover stuff like this, sometimes I do shorter episodes on just, anything growing and scaling. A lot of times I bring on other industry experts to talk about certain pieces of restoration. So make sure you subscribe and listen to us there. And then anybody that joined later, just remember if you got any negative reviews you need handled, we'll get them gone. And if we don't, we'll give you your money back. Like I said, we got it pretty dialed in at this point. Um, and and then remember, voice AI answering service rolling out in a month. If any of you've been thinking about leveraging that or signing up to it, in the chat, there's a link to schedule a call with me if you want. And then the other link is a form. Fill out the form. That'll put you on our waiting list for the voice AI, and we'll reach out to you when that's ready. And like I said, probably the next 2 to 4 weeks. But yeah, How did I do on time? 2:45. I did pretty good. So yeah, if y'all have any more specific questions about anything, um, put them in the chat and I'll cover them. I'll hang out here. Like I said, I did pretty good on time today. That's good. I'll hang out for a minute, answer any questions you have. Matthew, typically 4 grand a month. If we're going after like water, for 4 grand a month is kind of the minimum we recommend, and that would be across 20 days a month, $200 a day minimum budget. And again, I don't know how big your company is or whatever, but that's kind of the minimum. If you want to put in here where you're located, I might be able to give you a little bit more accurate. But 4 grand a month is kind of. But again, this is where too, depending on the size of your company and what you currently have in place, some people I say, hey, wait on pay per click. Let us scale the other fishing poles first, then we can resurface. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, 4 grand ain't gonna cut it. LA, I mean, I don't even know. Let's see, 3,000 times 20 or 300 times 20. Yeah, I'd say 300 a day minimum. I mean, if it was me, if you did 350 times 20, 7 grand. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to know the size of your company too to kind of be like 6, 7 grand probably minimum if you're going after water and all that. Because in your market, yeah, I mean, I know for a fact you got people spending 20, 30 grand a month. So you just want to like, let Google know, hey, I'm here, I'm ready to pay to play a little bit. Otherwise they're gonna outbid you and it just ain't gonna work. So that's a big boy market, for sure. Um, SoCal, yeah, where in SoCal? Give me a city or the biggest city in your service area. Um, I mean, so what's that? Maybe the San Diego market. Yeah, I've heard of Ventura. Let me look real quick. I think Ventura is a city too, right? Oh, Santa Barbara. Man, I got an uncle in Santa Barbara, actually. I didn't realize this right there. I mean, if you're just doing that county, you might be able to get away with the 45 to 5,500 a month range. I wouldn't want to go any less than that. I mean, if you go into LA, like, yeah, I'd say five. But a lot of what we do too is we like, let's start at five. We're gonna be looking at the data and then give you like, hey, we're actually getting you this many leads for that. You want to stay here? You want to scale it a little bit? Or if we see it's not quite enough, we're gonna be like, hey, we need to bump it a little bit. Um, but that's where we're different too. We don't like just dumping in there and then, you know, see if it works or not. Bakersfield too. That's man, I feel like I've heard of all these. Yeah, I mean Orange County is part of LA, and it I mean that's like a big boy. That's gonna be in the 6 to 7 probably. And sometimes what I do is the population is another good gauge. Yeah, 3 million people. Yeah, that's a 6 to 7 grand probably minimum for Orange County. Bakersfield. Yeah, I feel like I've heard of that. Bakers. Yeah, that you might be able to get away with. Yeah, I guess it's people trying to get out of LA. Oh yeah, 500,000. Yeah, so you might be all right with like no less than four. And again, depending on the size of your company, because I've always leans towards, if I say 4 to 5, like the way I'm like, I always push for five. I mean, because we even do some of our own marketing. Again, the longer I do this and the more players I like meet, people doing 30 million plus, they're like, dude, what's $1,000? Like, if you're worried about $1,000, you ain't ever gonna get to big level. And that's why I'm like, you're right. You just have to pay to play. But yeah, that's a little better market. Got it. So if I have 2K, there's no game in there. Yeah. Well, so racks, yeah, I mean, if you got 2,000 budget for PPC, I would not recommend doing it. I mean, yes, we have services we do for around that budget, but remember, there's timelines to all this. It could take longer to get organic calls. And then I'd also want to look at your GBP profile, your review count. How's your LSA looking? Because one of our strategy that works pretty well, and again, depending on your situation, we like to scale LSA first because it's a cheaper cost per lead than pay per click. So that's kind of what we look. I mean, that's what I do on the calls whenever I meet with people. Is I look at the whole scenario. I'm like, what are you trying to do in 2026? What did you do last year? What are you trying to do? And I look at your situation. I'm like, all right, here's the play. Um, but yeah, if you only got 2K, don't put that as your pay per click budget. Basically, spend it elsewhere for now. And that's why it's tricky to get from the 0 to 1 million a year mark is because I get it. You got your funds are limited, but you need leads, and they ain't cheap. But like I said, welcome to the game. It's possible for sure. You just got to have multiple lead sources, online and offline. And typically, I tell them, do not stop any of it. And then once you bust through that, everybody on here is bigger than that. Typically, well, I don't think it's easier. You just have different problems to deal with. But cool. All right, well, I got a few more minutes. Any other questions? Anybody has specific to your market? I mean, really anything marketing related if you want. I will, and again, if you want to book a call to talk, in private with me about your specific situation, or if you got some GBP reviews you want me to look at for you, um, use that link I just put in the chat to book a call. And then anybody on here that's just joined or whatever, if you want to get on the waiting list, um, for our lead cottage, voice AI, conversation AI, it responds to reviews for you. I mean, all kind of stuff. It can email people back for you. I mean, things are getting wild. Remember, that'll save you time and increase your speed to lead. And it can send a booking link and help you book people. But I mean, there's caveats to that too, right? You don't want to be if it's a flood job, an emergency, you don't want to be, you got to be booking that over the phone. You don't want to be sending them links. But all right, any other questions while I'm here? Let me know in the chat. And make sure you stay on our email list or whatever. I want to try to get do one of these at least once a month covering different topics. There's a lot changing right now. So I'm gonna try to help you guys, into what's, the latest and greatest. Um, yeah, absolutely, Rax. Yeah, remodel. I mean, if you're a home service company, we can help you. Because a lot of our guys, I mean, they're entrepreneurs. They have multiple businesses. They're like, hey, I got a carpet cleaning business and a restoration. Run both. A lot of our guys, remodeling company, restoration company. Sometimes it's two separate companies. Sometimes it's two different divisions. We can absolutely help you with that. And honestly, I love that you do that because I probably know you do rebuild recon as well, right? So your average job amount's going to be higher. And again, all of our guys doing 10 million and plus, they all do rebuild recon, all of them. And again, depending on where y'all are at in your journey, if you're just starting out, I know rebuild can be complicated. That's what I used to do back in the day. Like it's, dealing with sub, it's difficult. The margins are thinner. I get it. But if you want to be working on some TPAs and get some monster jobs, you start adding in the rebuild. There's some big boys out there. Um, yeah, and see, that's what I'm saying. I mean, again, I don't know everything, Rax, but I've just done this for a long time. That's why, those are our ideal clients, to be honest. Like, I'm not saying if you don't do rebuild, we can't help you. But yeah, you do remodeling, man, we got some plays we do on that too when it comes to local service ads and like, man, we can kind of use everything to feed everything. Yeah, we can definitely help you with that. That's actually my favorite. When there's a restoration, like, we do water fire mold, we got a remodeling division. You can piggyback off of those. And then when it comes to pay per click, like I talked about today, you don't have to deploy those funds towards all of it. Like that, you got to be a little bit more focused. And again, that's where we come in because I don't want you spreading yourself too thin and none of it works. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, if you want, just use that link I just gave you, Rax, and we can talk. Um, and I normally do some research before because whenever you book a call, you have to give me a little bit of info. Then I poke around before we talk. That way, I can get real nitty gritty with you if that's what you want. Um, yeah, no problem. Cool. Any other questions? I mean, really, remember, it can be about anything. I mean, why you got me on here. Um, yeah, the nitty gritty. Yeah, for you California people, I'm a Southern boy, as you can tell. I'm in South Carolina, so if you couldn't understand me, this is what a Southern accent sounds like. Born in Tennessee, worked in the Southeast in construction all my life, so it is here to stay, unfortunately. So y'all just gonna have to roll with it. Oh, nice, Mississippi, yeah. Man, I just met somebody that went to Ole Miss um the other day. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, and one of my friends, she went to Ole Miss, and she was like, "Man, there's a bunch of Ole Miss people here." Um, but yeah, I never lived in Mississippi. I did live in Alabama. Man, they had an accent. That when I was in Alabama, I was like, man, I thought I had an accent, but I think y'all might have me beat. Well, that was another life. Um, all right. Any other questions about your market, your situation, uh your reviews? If any of y'all have a review problem, I mean, I could look at them now and give you a rundown. Um, but it's 2:57, so go ahead and put your question in the chat if you do have a question. Um, and we will